killed a man.
I think I'm gonna need you.
You're gonna need me because you killed Ed Lester, because you didn't?
It's a good question.
How about a good answer?
What is it?
My husband, he's killed a man. He tried to shoot me. God, please help me.
Go sit in my car, Mrs. Delman. Drop it.
Hey, listen, it's not what you think.
Put it down. Back up.
I didn't kill that.
Don't move. Hello. Yeah, this is Ed Miller. I'm out at Shadow Rock Estates. I'd like to report a homicide.
That's a phone. Gas. Well, it's a must. 100 pounds of cement. No, at least we can hold that up for a while.
But the trailer payment is due.
Oh, no, that's top priority. We better make out a check for that immediately.
Okay. That will then leave us a balance of, let's see.
Oh, no. You better not tell me unless there's a doctor present.
Tony, I got a problem. I need your help. A friend of mine, John Delman. I got him hired as a deputy when I was on the force.
Well, go on, Pete.
He's got trouble. I mean, it's bad trouble. They're saying that he shot and killed a man, Tony. He needs a good lawyer.
Yeah, well, what else?
Delman is a police officer, and that just doesn't wash. What I mean is, all of a sudden, all his friends in the department, they're turning their backs on him.
You think they've got a good case?
Well, the guy he supposedly shot was his wife's boyfriend.
Oh, you mean lover?
Yeah. They found him standing over the guy's body with a gun in his hand, Tony.
Oh, is that all?
He's a friend of mine, Tony. He needs your help.
He's got it. didn't.
No.
Oh, that's the one you got from
I
the...
want to talk to you.
I should have known that you'd be here, Petrocelli. It's a ballistics report. Now, the slug in the dead man's body came from Delman's service revolver.
Yeah, I want to talk to him.
The shot he took at his wife when she walked in on him, we dug it out of a lamppost in the patio. Same with thing, from his revolver.
Maybe I should use an amplifier. I said I want to talk to him.
I think you better stay out of this one, Petrocelli. There's nothing worse than a cop that's gone bad, and that's what he's done. And we've got good, hard evidence. We also have a history on Delman that's just as damaging, so you better lay off.
I like to make my own decisions, huh?
When it comes to loyalty, Granger, you sure come up short.
You're the one that brought him into the department, remember?
And you're the one he's been working for the last 3 years. I figure you owe him something.
I don't figure I owe him anything with evidence like this.
Anything else you want to tell me about Delman?
Well, old man Delman, a few years back, he owned half the land around here. He ran cattle, got very rich. He was one of those hard-nosed individuals. He wanted to bring up his kid in his own image, that type of thing.
The kid couldn't take it to it, huh?
You bet he could. By the time he was old enough, he'd made so much trouble, he really embarrassed the old man.
Well, how'd he end up in the police force?
Well, I talked to the old man. I convinced him that he's got to let the kid go, that he's got to let him make his own way and that kind of thing. And he pulled some strings, and we got him assigned to my duty section.
He did well?
Yeah, you bet he did well. The old man was impressed. He even wrote him back into the will. And, well, the old man died a couple of years ago. And the kid liked the police work. He decided to stay with it.
Pete, oh man, I wasn't sure you'd heard.
Yeah, I heard. I also got you the best criminal lawyer in this state. This is Tony Petrocelli. Tony, this is John Delman.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Well, you want to sit down and talk about it?
I don't know, Mr. Petrocelli. I think I have a lawyer.
You think?
Yeah, well, it's Mr. Cole. He's always handled my affairs.
Is he a criminal lawyer?
I don't know.
Well, Tony is, and that's what you need.
Look, John, I'm here because I'm a friend of Pete's, and I'm willing to help any way I can. If you want Cole, well, that's all right, too.
Listen, if you're as good as Pete says you are, I think I'm gonna need you.
You're gonna need me because you killed Ed Lester or because you didn't?
Tony.
No, Pete, that's all right. It's a good question.
How about a good answer?
I didn't kill him, Mr. Petrocelli.
Okay, that's a good start.
Let me tell you everything I know up to here, okay?
Sure.
Well, Susan and I, we've been married a little over a year. We have a good marriage. I mean, maybe she expects more, and I don't think she realized I intended to stay a cop, but you know, I got a lot of money.
Yeah, so they tell me.
Okay. And I was in a lot of trouble when I was a kid. So I'm trying to start a foundation to help kids in trouble like I was. And I'm putting almost all the money into it. Well, that didn't sit too well with Susie at first because she didn't understand. But then everything smoothed over, you know? I mean, I thought everything was really great. And then yesterday, just before I went off duty, a phone call came in through the switchboard.
Delman. It's a man's voice. He said I was a fool. Susan was with a guy named Ed Lester at the house. I couldn't believe it. I was pretty shaken. I stumbled out of there and drove home. I got home around 6:30 and went inside. And I found the guy face down on the floor. I heard a noise outside and ran out. I saw someone running.
Hold it right there.
But I kept running, and I had to pull off a quick shot. The slug rammed into a lamppost, and the guy got away. I went back inside, turned the body over. It was Lester. And Susie and I had met him at a party about a month before. But I
looked up and I saw Miller, the Shadow Rock security guard, pointing a gun at me.
So you fired one shot at a running figure.
It hit the lamppost.
Well, how do you explain the ballistics report? The slug from the victim was also from your gun.
I can't.
Okay, you say you and your wife met Ed Lester at a party about a month ago.
Yeah, about that.
Did you know they were seeing each other?
No, and I still don't believe that they were.
What was he doing at your house then? Look, if it were true, and you went home and you found him, what would you have done?
I guess just what they're accusing me of.
You just bought yourself a lawyer.
Mr. Petrocelli, I want to see you at the jail, but I just missed you. Hi. I'm Arnold Cole, John Dillman's lawyer.
Well, we have something in common.
Yes, that's something we'll have to talk about.
Well, take the stand,
I've
Counselor.
just come from the district attorney. I'm sure you realize the adverse publicity toward the police department every time something like this occurs.
Well, like what?
Oh, come on. You know exactly what I'm referring to. In any event, the district attorney is very desirous of settling this case as soon as possible.
Well, I don't blame him.
Desirous enough to go for a charge of manslaughter, you know, outraged husband, that sort of thing. That should mean that John should be out on parole within 2 years.
That's if we plead him guilty.
What do you mean if we plead him guilty?
I don't know about your client, Mr. Cole, but my client says he's innocent. I'll see you in court, huh? Pete?
Yeah, I'll tell him. Hey, take care. Okay, bye. It was Pete. He's real worried.
What's the matter?
Well, it seems things are getting worse for John Dellman. Police pressure.
Well, according to Granger, the entire police force is against us. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to influence the court.
What do you do with a hot potato like this?
What do you do with it? You peel it.
I don't follow.
It all depends on who you get on the bench tomorrow. We could get either Judge Bailey or Judge Manners, and we would be in luck.
And if we're not in luck?
Then we get Judge Maitland.
He's the one that nearly jailed you for contempt in the Alvarez case.
Smart girl. He was born on the wrong side of the bed.
Think positively.
Absolutely. If we get Bailey, I request bail, and he'll grant it.
What about Judge Manners?
Same thing. I'll request bail, and he'll grant it, too.
I hate to bring him up, but, what about Judge Maitland?
I look for grounds for change of venue. I request bail, and he wouldn't grant it to a jaywalker.
Oh, you think you have got it all figured out, don't you, Counselor?
Well, except for one small thing.
What's that?
Which judge we get.
Superior Court in and for the County of San Remo is now in session. Judge George Maitland presiding. Please be seated. Mr. Petrocelli?
Your Honor, at this time, I would like the court to set bail.
Your Honor, may I remind Mr. Petrocelli this is a murder one case and ask him to review the evidence against his client?
Mr. Harrell, I'm fairly sure Mr. Petrocelli has read the arrest report, as have I.
May I remind Your Honor that my client, being a member of the San Remo Police Force, is an officer of the court.
All the more reason for us to be very careful to set an example, Mr. Petrocelli.
Then I must inform Your Honor that I intend to make a motion for a change of venue.
On what ground?
That my client cannot get a fair trial in San Remo if the court intends to use this case to set an example.
I'll consider your change of venue motion at the proper time, Mr. Petrocelli. Motion for bail is denied.
This has been one of our longer days. I never did get out to the Dellman house.
Look, I know you've got your mind concentrating on John Dellman, but there are a few things we really need to take care of.
Okay, honey, fire away.
Okay, first, Mrs. Rizzio called about that suit against the Chinese restaurant.
Never stand up in court because she ate the evidence. And tell us you had to go on a diet, too. Now, what else?
Oh, Fred Dawson. He wants to know if he can legally collect on that football bet he made.
No, that's negative. Betting is known as gambling, which is also known as illegal in this state. And tell him he was nuts for picking the Giants. Next?
Robert Jensen. He wants to know if his contract with his father is still binding.
Yeah, absolutely. It still is binding, even though the kid's 8 years old. The father still has to pay him for mowing the lawn.
Oh, honey, Mrs. Fenton's condition is worse. They put her into intensive care. I sent some flowers.
Oh, good. Maybe we can visit her, huh?
Okay.
Okay, any other business we have to take care of?
Well, nothing but the most important case.
What's that?
What would you like for dinner?
Oh, what I...
That's a Delman house.
Uh-huh. You come by at about 6:30, huh?
Yeah, give or take a minute.
I mean, you're really sure of that?
Yeah, that's my job. The Shadow Rock people keep me on a really strict schedule so they know where I'm located all the time. Besides, I keep a log, and I write down not only what I see, but when I see it.
Do you remember what Mrs. Delman was wearing?
Yeah, let's see. She had on a blouse and slacks.
Listen, I don't want to keep you from your schedule. Thanks for your help.
Sure.
All right.
Stop, right there. Who are you?
I'm your husband's attorney.
Oh, yes. Mr. Petrocelli. I heard you were going to defend him.
Well, I won't be his attorney much longer if you keep that gun on me.
Sorry. Guess I'm a little bit jumpy.
You always carry that thing?
I don't like guns. John was the one who insisted I learn how to use one. To protect myself at all times.
From what?
I spend a lot of time here, alone.
I'd like to talk to you, Mrs. Delman.
I don't think I have anything to say.
What about if you start with how can I help John?
All right. How can I help John?
Well, you can tell me a little bit about the two of you.
Hasn't he done that already?
Well, two sides of the story are better than one.
Do you want to tell me what his side was?
He said you had a very happy marriage, that he didn't believe you ever fooled around with Ed Lester.
You know what's funny? We had a good marriage for a while. You ready for a true story, Mr. Petrocelli? Not pretty, but true.
I'm ready for any story that can help your husband, Mrs. Delman.
I've lived in San Remo most of my life. Always know about the Delmans. I mean, you always know about families like the Delmans, especially if you grow up kind of poor. A couple of years ago, Johnny and I started going together. And we fell in love. We really did. And we got married. And I thought, hey, the end of the rainbow. But what was at the end of the rainbow wasn't a pot of gold. It was a cop. That's all he wanted to be, a cop. He could run off and spend 15, 20 hours a day sometimes and do just what he wanted to do.
Then you started playing around, huh?
I'm a healthy lady, Mr. Petrocelli. I needed someone. And then we met Ed Lester at that party about a month ago. He excited me. And one day he called, and I was bored. And that started it.
What about John?
Didn't think he even cared anymore. We almost never even slept together.
And you and Ed Lester?
I never figured Johnny would find out. But I guess he did.
Think he killed Ed Lester?
What do you mean?
It's a simple question. I said, do you think he killed Ed Lester?
Hey, I saw him. And I'm sorry, because it was my fault, but I saw him.
Shoot Ed Lester?
No, but...
You know, if I were in court, I'd say no more questions.
You sure you lost your wedding ring in here, Maggie?
Yeah, it just slipped off. Oh, Pete, we've got to find it. I don't want Tony to find out.
Hey, you're supposed to use a trowel for that.
Well...
It's a little thick. We're just trying to thin it out, Tony.
Yeah, hands were made first.
Did you find anything about Ed Lester?
Oh, you bet. Actually, that's why I'm here. None of it's any good. Ed Lester ran a place on the outskirts of town called a Bum Steer. Cowboys, beat girls, that kind of thing. And the payoff is, I went out there to check it out, and I kind of talked to a cocktail waitress, and she claims that she saw Ed Lester and Susan Delman out there drinking together 3 months ago.
That's funny. John told us that he and Susan met Ed at that party a month ago, and they were together.
Well, when does she say they met?
Same time. Now, why would she have lied about something like that? You know, maybe it's worth a trip out there.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Just better clean this up, baby, because we may have to hock it sometime.
Sneak.
Need a draft.
Hi there.
Hi.
You by yourself?
All by my lonesome.
If you'd like some company, I drink scotch.
Yeah? Hey, bartender.
Not this one, Ginny.
Come on, go find your
Get
own.
lost now. You too, mister. Why don't you go somewhere else? Other beer's on the house.
You know, it's nothing to do with the bouncer. I say 3 cheers so women's live.
Look, I just don't want you here. Now, why don't you leave?
Look, all I want to do is talk to you.
Not to me, not to anybody here.
Why?
Look! I know who you are, and I know why you're here.
You're defending the man that shot Ed.
Why are you so sure about it?
I've seen your picture.
No. Why are you so sure that Delman shot him?
Are you kidding? I read all about it in the papers.
Did you read John Delman's side of the story?
What's that supposed to mean?
He says he's innocent.
Well, what else would he say?
Look, why don't you just sit down and talk to me for a couple of minutes? If I don't make any sense to you, then I'll take off, okay?
Okay. Come on.
Look, let me start by saying that I think that John Delman is innocent. Set up.
Okay, that's your opinion. So?
Did you ever see Ed and Susan Delman together?
Yeah, once, maybe 3 months ago.
All right. You see, John Delman and Susan Delman claim that they met Ed Lester for the first time a month ago.
That's a lie.
You're right. Ed was seeing Susan for at least 3 months.
No, it's not that way. They had a business deal, and that was all.
What do you mean, business?
She hired him to play a part, to make her husband jealous.
How do you know?
Well, Ed told me.
Do you believe him?
Hey, Ed was no saint. I lived with him. He used to fool around some, but not with her. I could always tell. There was a kind of look he got when he found something new. He didn't have it with her. Like I say, it was strictly business.
Then why didn't you tell the police that?
Well, I didn't think it made any difference. I mean, if Delman thought they really were lovers, he would have had the same reason to kill Ed.
Well, that's possible, but my gut feeling is that that's not what happened.
I think you better have more than that.
Look, I want to find out who did kill Ed Lester. If you want to help me, call me. Anytime, huh?
Would it make me hurt any less?
It might.
That's a shame, Petrocelli. How'd you do that?
Look, why don't you just get your ballistics crew to get the slug out of there and find the rifle that fired it, huh?
Why, who would want to shoot at you, huh?
Obviously someone who doesn't want me defending John Delman.
Well, that could be half the police department, you know. Besides, there's no proof it had anything to do with the Delman case.
Look, I was out at Ed Lester's trying to find out some answers. That's when the shooting started. Now, you can bet your Dick Tracy badge it has everything to do with the Delman case.
What'd you learn at the Lesters?
The your case against John Delman has more holes in it than a canceled check?
Is that so, huh? Maybe I ought to tell you what's in Mrs. Delman's statement.
Yeah, go on, tell me.
She and Delman have been having their problems, so she started seeing Lester. Seems they fell in love. Seems he'd found out about her and Lester. Came home in the afternoon. He told her to knock it off.
I know that.
She fought back. He hit her and left. She called Lester, told him she was scared. He said that he would meet with Delman later, try to calm things down. He wanted her to leave Delman for him. She drove around for a while, then got worried and came home. She heard a shot. ran to the rear of the house, looked in, saw Delman over Ed Lester's body holding his service revolver. She ran across the rear yard. He took a shot at her. The slug hit the post. She ducked into some shrubbery. He looked for her. He couldn't find her. She made her way back to the front of the house just as the security guard was arriving.
What is it, Mr. Delman? What's wrong?
Now, if that doesn't pound nails in his coffin, I don't know what does.
You know, Granger, maybe you missed your calling. Should have been an undertaker.
I don't understand why we can't go on with the foundation.
Oh, it's just a legal situation that has to be cleared up. Once the trial is over, we'll be able to handle it.
The rest of this stuff,
In and out of prison, we still have to pay the bills.
You seen Susan?
Yes. She's, of course, very upset and concerned about you.
She's not concerned enough to come see me.
Oh, she will. Soon. Anything else I can do, John?
Yeah, pray a lot.
Mr. Petrocelli.
Cole, I want to talk to you right now.
Is there something I can do?
No, nothing. This is just between the two of us.
All right.
You want me to stay on as your lawyer, you better start telling me the truth.
But I have.
Look, let's get this straight. According to your wife's statement, you two had a big fight that day about Ed Lester.
That's not true. I didn't even know about them.
Then what is the truth?
Well, I did come home for lunch that day, but because she called me. She said she wanted to talk about the foundation, that she was sorry about it and she was willing for me to turn the money over. She said she'd sign the papers since I wanted her to be an officer in the foundation, then have Arnold Cole bring them over to me. And she kept her word. Just before I went off duty, Arnold came by with the papers.
Thanks, Arnold.
Then a phone call came in through the switchboard.
Delman.
A man's voice. He said I was a fool. Susan was with a guy at the house.
The rest is just like I told you. I went inside, I found the body, saw the running figure, and shot at him.
So you went back inside and you saw the dead man was Ed Lester.
And then the security guard came in. That's the way it was, Mr. Petrocelli, I swear. I didn't kill him.
You got me sold. Now all we have to do is try to sell the judge.
Hey, Tony. I got some good news and some bad news.
Give me the goodies first.
Well, I'll have the photostats of the Delman books tonight.
And?
And Wendy Burton's missing.
Huh?
I went by the bum steer to talk to her about the trial, and she's gone. And the waitress, the one that saw Susan and Lester, well, lapse of memory, she can't remember a thing.
That means somebody got to her, Pete. But it also means she'll talk if we can find her.
Find her? Where?
Pete, you're the investigator. What do you think I pay you all the big money for?
6-pack of beer.
My eyeballs feel like they just fell in between Massachusetts versus Carson. Yeah. Now, this is he. Hi, how are you, Mrs. Schneider? What can I do for you? On what grounds this time? Look, I think you better think this over. Yeah, cracker crumbs in bed aren't grounds for mental cruelty in this state, Mrs. Schneider. Yeah, okay, you do that and you call me back, okay? Great. Goodbye. I don't believe it. 4th divorce action. You know, she takes out marriage licenses like they were loan applications.
Well, here they are. These are the photostats of Delman Foundation books. Still no trace of Wendy Burton.
Hey, take a look at this. Look, paragraph 6, section 2. Conditions of an estate relative to a convicted felon.
Any felon serving a sentence of more than 1 year must surrender financial control to a court-approved attorney who shall then be deemed responsible to fulfill all financial obligations of said felon relative to taxes, liens, encumbrances. Touchdown. Hey, I think we've got something that's going to lead us right to Wendy Burton.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, help of God?
I do.
State your name and occupation, please.
Martin Granger, Sergeant, San Remo Police.
Please be seated.
Sergeant, you have the ballistics report marked Peoples 4?
Right here, sir.
Would you summarize that for the court, please?
Yes, sir. The revolver used in the killing belonged to John Delman. The serial numbers checked out. There were 2 empty chambers. Our tests indicated that the gun was fired after it was last cleaned.
And when did your department run these tests?
About 2 hours after the defendant was arrested, sir. About 9 p.m. on the day of the murder. Now, we ran standard ballistic tests and proved that the bullet that was in the victim and the bullet that was recovered from the lamppost were both fired from Deputy Delman's service revolver.
Thank you, Sergeant. Your witness.
How you doing, Sergeant? So I noticed here by the police report that you didn't run a fingerprint test on the murder weapon.
That's right.
Well, why is that?
Well, Delman admitted it was his gun and that he fired it.
Well, he admitted firing it once, the bullet in the lamppost. But did you run a check on the weapon for prints other than Delman's?
Well, there was no reason for that.
No reason. In other words, what we have here is a murder case, and nobody bothered to check the fingerprints in the murder weapon.
Look, I told you...
Yes, I know what you told me. No further questions.
Redirect?
No, Your Honor.
The witness is excused.
Your Honor, that concludes the people's presentation.
Mr. Petrocelli, are you ready to present a defense at this time?
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
I checked them all out. It has to be that one.
Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to request a recess until after lunch, at which time the defense will present its case.
This court is recessed until 1:30.
Believe it or not, that's the place.
Okay, you take the back, I'll take the front.
You're breaking and entering.
Call a lawyer.
What do you want?
Do you want to know who I am, or do you already know?
I never saw you before.
Did you ever see Wendy Burton before? Where is she?
I never heard of her. And I'm going to give you 5 seconds to turn around and get out of here.
Not without the lady. Where is she?
In the basement.
Miss Burton, you worked with Ed Lester at the bum steer.
Yes.
Would you explain to the court the set of circumstances that led to your present physical condition?
I was beaten up.
Why?
so I wouldn't testify here today.
After you were beaten, what happened then?
I was taken to a house here in town and kept there.
Until Mr. Ritter and I arrived,
Yes.
You know whose house that was?
I assumed it belonged to the man that took me there.
Now, Wendy, what was your relationship with Ed Lester?
We were, well, lovers, I guess is the word.
Well, according to testimony, Ed Lester was Susan Delman's lover.
That's not true.
Well, why are you so sure?
Ed told me it was strictly a business arrangement.
Hearsay, Your Honor. Sustained.
Wendy, is it possible that Ed Lester and Susan Delman were lovers, but that he lied to you?
No. I know it was only a business deal that he was being paid for. Like I told you coming over here, I spent every night with Ed for the last 2 months.
Except the last one. Thank you, Miss Burton. No more questions.
Mr. Harrell?
No questions, Your Honor.
The witness is excused.
Your Honor, I would like the photostats of the Delman Trust marked for identification as Defense Exhibit 1.
Marked as Defense Exhibit number 1.
Now, Your Honor, keeping in mind the testimony of Wendy Burton that the supposed love affair was only a charade, and Sergeant Granger admitting that there were no fingerprint check made on John Delman's gun, and the ledger on the Delman Trust, which you'll shortly see, I'd like to present another version of the happening that led to the murder of Ed Lester.
I don't know.
John Delman had 2 strikes against him. A wife who didn't want his money going to a foundation, and a man who had misused the Delman funds and feared what would happen once he had to put the money into the Delman Foundation. So a meeting was set up between Ed Lester and Susan Delman, a business meeting that was to lead to Lester's death.
I'll see you later, okay?
If John had been killed, they knew that the Delman funds faced a probate which would reveal the missing money, so they did the next best thing. Susan Delman let her husband off to keep him busy while Arnold Cole switched guns with Delman, using a duplicate of his service revolver. Now, Delman never knew the difference. They framed him for murder. With him in prison and no probate to face, the heat would be off. Mrs. Delman was probably convinced to go along with this with the promise of a short prison term for John and unlimited funds once he was in prison. John Delman returned to work not knowing that his revolver had been replaced. So Lester was called, and when he showed up, he was killed with John Delman's revolver. Then the second half of the game took place. Under the pretext of signing the papers, Cole went to Delman's office, put Delman's service revolver back in its holster. Cole then went to a payphone booth just outside the office, called Delman, disguising his voice, told him of his wife's rendezvous going on at the house. Cole then went to the Delman house to make sure that when Delman arrived, he would already be hidden at the rear of the house to oversee it all, make sure it went as planned. Susan Delman parked her car in a position to observe her home. She knew her husband would arrive home about the same time that the security guard would pass the house. She went to the rear of the house to discover John Delman with the dead man. But then the unexpected happened. Cole had made a noise outside that attracted Delman's attention.
Hold it right there.
Delman took a shot at him, but was unable to identify him. Susan Delman decided to take advantage of the situation. She ran back screaming to tell Miller her husband had just killed a man and had tried to kill her.
Delman, what is it?
An examination of the Delman estate will show the missing funds used by the man at whose property Wendy Burton was held. Arnold Cole. Your Honor, I move for the dismissal of charges against my client. In my opinion, the state does not have sufficient evidence for a conviction.
Mr. Harrow?
Inasmuch as I'll be issuing new complaints shortly, the people would join in that motion. As far as my office is concerned, Mr. Petrocelli's client's free to go.
Very well. Motion is granted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Petrocelli?
Yes, Your Honor.
I would not have granted your change in venue.
Well, Your Honor, considering the excellent judgment you've displayed here today, my client would have been in excellent hands had we gone to trial.
Mr. Petrocelli? Bull. This hearing is closed.
Hi.
Hi.
Brought a little celebration with me.
Well, will you tell me, what is the occasion?
Foundation is official today.
Hey, that's great, John.
Sure, once Cole and his flunky were indicted, the court took over and they passed it straight through.
I think I'll get us some glasses.
Thanks. Great idea.
This place is really coming along. Maybe this line could be a little straighter here, though. Pete, give me a hand, would you? Grab the line.
Now, if we play our cards right, he'll just keep working.
Ooh, it's gorgeous.
How is that, huh?
Fantastic. Good?
Here's to Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer.
Yep. He had a great idea.